Yo guys, what's going on? Rapper Warshack here. We're back at it again with another spicy video. We're going to be covering the best decks since the most recent patch. I actually delayed this video just to get a little bit more data on all the recent buffs that we had and to see if the meta would shake up any bit on the buffs and nerfs that were had. So to take a quick peek at just what buffs that we did have, we had some all spell demon hunter get buffed. We had some druid stuff. We had Toki mage, some unrelevant priest stuff, Rafam, and then an aura paladin card. So just off of what we were having before the buffs, Toki Mage was getting a little bit of action because there was a lot of streamers playing it. However, the deck, because it has essentially no win condition, it is you're playing 20 to 25 minute games that come down to strictly old like Arc Fist warrior matchups where it's you just have some stuff to do sometimes, and if your opponent just runs out of gas, you'll win kind of situation. But again, the deck doesn't really have a clear win condition like a lot of like Protoss Mage has a win condition, Demon Hunter has a win condition. The outvalue Mage is just a old style control deck, a ton of removal and cards that generate cards. So yeah, it's been doing okay in popularity. Rafam Lock is still, of course, always going to be weak to Dirty Rat or Ham or any hand disruption. So I don't think Rafam Warlock, first of all, being a good deck is good, but also them touching it up a little and making it a little bit better is fine. For priest stuff, who cares? And then the druid stuff, again, Beast Druid hasn't been a thing in many years. This Highborn Mentor buffing this isn't going to change anything unless they put this card down to like 5 or 6 mana. Again, it probably just won't see play anytime soon. However, the Demon Hunter stuff was the most interesting and felt the most powerful. We actually did fairly well with an all-spell Demon Hunter, which will pop up at the end of this video. But just taking a look at the actual stats of the past couple days, we have a clear indicator what's tier 1 right now and tier... We got a word from our sponsor. He's losing his mind at the moment. Would you like to remind our viewers that in order for Duders to get good Christmas with his girlfriend, we should sub, like, and comment on every video. Make sure we watch them all. Even if you don't want to, you put it on mute or low volume. Keep it rolling. Keep that time engagement high. Duders is happy. I know he looks like a stuffed animal. I promise he's real. Hi, buddy. Oh, look at the leg go up immediately. What a good boy. Right now, we're looking at Legend. If you look Diamond through Legend as well, the decks are basically the same. So we'll just look at Legend. We have the Ravenous Cliffside Demon Hunter, Midrange Shaman, Aggro Demon Hunter, Aggro Paladin, Bubble Paladin, and surprisingly, Dragon Warrior here at the top. Again, it is just an aggro variant of Dragon Warrior, but still a little bit different. So taking a look at those actual decks, let's take a look at what's inside of them and what makes them so good. So we have a list here. Midrange Shaman, this has been a deck that's been good for the past like what, a month and a half, 2 months, ever basically since the last nerfs. This deck has just been the best deck. It has an insane amount of games played with it. I'll pull this up one more time. Yeah, this has almost 500,000 games played at Legend, and then Diamond through Legend, we are talking about over 1,000,000 games at above a 55% win rate for the Midrange Shaman. And I think what makes this deck so good is just you play the green cards and then you win. You're just going to play the 1 mana card on 1, the 2 mana card on 2, the 3 mana card on 3, the 4 mana card on 4. And that pretty much is good enough for this deck. And that'll get you to Legend with a deck like this. It is the most popular Shaman deck. And again, just the most popular deck period right now. And it is astronomically powerful for basically the thought process that you put into a deck like this. This out aggro's aggro decks, it outvalues control decks, and it out tempos mid-range decks. And that's basically why it's #1 and so many people are playing it. Plus, it's pretty fun. Looking at Ravenous Cliffside Demon Hunter, this is another really fantastic deck that just cheeses out so hard with stuff like the Cliff Dive. When you do this and you pull 2 Inquisitors or like a Mag and Inquisitor and you're pumping like 20 damage in 1 turn on turn like 6 if you have coin, or just 7 is very, very good. You can do really cheap things with the Blob of Tar and the Fell Hunter to just keep resummoning. This is going to destroy any other aggressive deck. You have the Dangerous Cliffside with our boy Alfonso here. No, this is Alfredo. We have our boy Alfredo here, and he's draw a minion, transform all other friendly minions into copies of it. So granted, if you got a field full like little tars, or you have a location out, you attack with your chargers, you play your Alfredo, and then he gives you a board full of Magtheridon or Ziliax or Inquisitor, you just win that game too. So this is just a very cheese Demon Hunter deck. This is going to be very streaky. Again, just another really easy deck to play, because if you just You play the green cards, you high roll, you win. If you don't hit the high roll, well, then you probably got high rolled and then you lose, right? But yeah, very high rolly deck and very, very easy climb with something like this. Moving down to the Aggro Demon Hunter, this isn't a high roll deck. This is just kill your opponent very consistently, very fast. This deck has a ton of pressure in the early game, and it looks like it wouldn't really have that much refill, but for some reason, this deck could just go, it just goes toe to toe with so many decks, and it just gets it done. So you have stuff like red card, make a minion go dormant. Your opponent, you know, they try to play like a taunt or a Totolian Traveler, or they play Ziliax, you red card. You have 2 turns to be able to hit them in the face. You've got like the Acupuncture, which is a 1 mana deal 4 to both heroes. But of course, you run the Thrill Seeker, which is damage your hero takes on your turn is redirected at a random enemy. If they don't have any minions, it goes face. So Acupuncture potentially is a 1 mana do 8 damage, which is quite insane. You run Zephyrus for even more damage over the top. You run stuff like King Mukla and the Ziliax that is going to have at the end of your turn deal 3 damage to your hero, and then at the start of your turn double this minion's attack. So dealing with a 5/7 on turn 4 that's a lot of health, and if this is going to be able to go face for 10, that's pretty much going to guarantee you the game. So like playing a 4 mana left unchecked, you just win, is quite powerful. But yeah, Aggro Demon Hunter has been good for quite some time. Oh, and a new card that it runs, I didn't even cover it, was the Serpent. So this costs 4 less if a minion's dormant. Again, a 4 mana 7/9 with Rush, putting out a massive amount of, like, it's a 4 mana 7/7. It's actually a 4 mana 7/9 with Rush. It's just better. And then having a minion be dormant, really not that hard when you run stuff like the Grim Harvest, which gives you a dormant card. You run red card, which again makes your opponent's minion go dormant. And this card, it doesn't require you. It just says if there's a dormant card. So if your opponent has it, works. If you have it, it works. It's a really insane card for Demon Hunter to be able to pump out that level of pressure that early. Looking down here at Bubble Paladin, this is actually a pretty new deck and fairly interesting. It's not as aggro as the Aggro Paladin, but it has a lot of oomph once you hit to turn 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I will just point out the new inclusions. It runs Elise. Every deck runs Elise. If you can play the card and not impact the deck too heavily, it's just basically a card you play. And especially in aggro, where you can have it do the plus attack, summon raptors, that's just going to be good when you have stuff like Crusader Aura in the deck. So those raptors stick around, generally not a big deal. But a deck like Paladin that has a lot of buffs and auras, it actually is a very, very big deal. So talking about the new stuff is the Tankadeer. It's a 4 mana 2/1 Divine Shield, Death Rattle, summon a 7/7 tank with Divine Shield. So what makes this card annoying is that both parts of it have Divine Shield. So you get to run Cube, and once you cube that card, it's going to resummon one with Divine Shield, and then that procs with Divine Shield. And then again, because they have 2 rounds of Divine Shield, it takes a lot to clear it. And if you're getting hit in the face with a Crusader Aura, that 2/1 that's originally a Tankadeer is going to grow to a 4/2. It's going to grow to a 6/3. And then once they kill it, it's going to be a 7/7 with Divine Shield. So it's just very sticky, hard to remove. Because there's so much Divine Shield, you can run the Unbreaking, which is your Divine Shields take 3 hits to break, which makes it even more obnoxious. You have Safe Pilot and the Dragon. Again, we have to play it. We don't have to play, but Elise is in the deck, so keep in mind that's why we run all of the mana costs. We run Giblin because we have so many auras in the deck. This card is absolutely insane, and it's definitely, if you get this guy out on curve, it feels good. And then we have the Ziliax with the twin module in perfect module on there. So yeah, fairly interesting Paladin deck. I would say if you enjoy any sort of mid-range Paladin, give this a go. The Tankadeer is a good nostalgia feel because of the 7/7 tank that it summons. That's one of the core cards in Hearthstone that we used to see but was around a long time ago. So I think you guys will have some fun with that. This is one of those Paladin decks that, while it is annoying, I don't hate it like I like Libram Paladin or Murloc Paladin. This particular Paladin deck gets a pass. And then moving down to the Dragon Warrior, as I had mentioned in our first look at what the meta, it's very aggressive. It runs the Stone Carver. This card's absolutely insane. It's a 2 mana 1/2. At the end of your turn, give a friendly random damage minion +2/+2. This can do it on itself. So a lot of the best openers in the game is like Depths, and then you Stone Carver, and then you use the Depths on this, and then it just starts scaling. And it's just like a massive minion very early. I mean, a 6 HP minion on turn 2, 8 HP minion on turn 3, and it's going to keep getting more attack, and the Depths already gives it +2 attack. It's just a very snowbally card that, again, the depths into this will win like 70% of your games. And that's just crazy to me that you can just play a deck and then if you draw these 2 cards, your win rate 70% regardless of any other thing. So that's just kind of nutty. You have a like Gift Wrap Whelp, which is very aggressive. It's a 1 mana 3/2. Stats are crazy and it buffs another dragon in your hand. You have the Peddler, which buffs your dragons. You have your Quality Assurances to help draw your taunts, and your taunts are going to be able to draw a lot of your low gosh guys. I don't think this card is very good. Again, not my list. I'm just pulling what are the best decks. If you want my off-meta meme decks, we do that all the time. But this video is just, again, talking about the best decks after the patch. For those of you who care about, again, what the best decks are. And this is one of the best decks in regards to Warrior. And I thought Dragon Warrior seemed interesting. Also, this Stadium Announcer card, which is Rewind 4 mana 3/3 Battle Cry. Both players equip a random weapon, gives yours +1/+1. I didn't think this card was going to be that good. This card's actually very good. Very good. So I always like to be wrong on stuff like this because I just didn't think it was solid. And every time it gets played against me, I'm like, oh my God, this weapon's going to do 15 damage to me because it has rewind. So if they hit a bad weapon, they can try to get a good weapon. And most of the time, they're going to get like a 4/3 weapon or like a 5/3 weapon. And it's just, it absolutely does so much damage. So yeah, if you like the Dragon Warrior and you like a faster deck, a lot of these decks are just aggro decks, to be honest. Like, yeah, pretty much all of these besides maybe the Cliff Dive Demon Hunter. But then again, this is still trying to kill you by turn like 7, 8. So a lot of these decks are, none of these are control decks, I would say. And then the deck that's in last that actually isn't tier like S or tier 1 is the Discover Hunter. But I think this is a tier 1 deck. I think what's holding the Discover Hunter back is it's a harder deck to play. There's a lot of options and there's so much you can do with it. And basically the number of options that you have per turn, like how many plays could you make, is a decider of, is this deck hard to play? So Midrange Shaman, you'll have like 2 choices. Most of the time, probably just 1 play per turn to make with your mana. It just curves out really well, right? But with a deck like this, you may have up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, more than, sometimes even more than 10 different lines of play to make, and choosing the best line, that's a hard thing to do, right? Because for every open play that you can make, there's room to make a mistake there. If you only have 2 plays, even if you're terrible, it's a 50-50 to make the right play, right? So when you have a deck that's like there's 5 or even more different routes you can take, that's more room for user error. And that's where, you know, Hearthstone, in the knowing your deck and knowing the matchup, that's where the skill comes in, right? Is mitigating user error and playing as best as you could play with the deck that you have. So I think Discover Hunter, as we can see here, very, very good deck. I think, again, it just comes down to user error and the deck not being played to its full potential. But I mean, I've been OTK'd at turn like 5 or 6 from 30 with this deck, and it didn't even have a good hand. So yeah, Discover Hunter is insane right now. The Ranger Sylvanas is insane. There's just so many great cards in this deck, and there's so much value and just so much burst. It's crazy. But keep in mind, deck's going to be really hard to play. It's not necessarily, this is more of like a mid-range value combo deck than it is like an aggro deck. So just keep that in mind if you decide to try the Discover Hunter. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I wish I could say any of the cards that got buffed would make it in the top decks or even an up-and-coming deck. I will honorably mention the all-spell Demon Hunter deck, which we did play. Let me pull up the stats here for you guys. Yeah, here it is. We went 8-3 with this deck at a 73% win rate. We went from, I think, Plat to Diamond 5 with it with pretty good ease. But again, it's more of a meme deck. I was just trying to play with new cards, but you know, it's not going to be a best deck or anything. But I wish stuff that got buffed could actually break into what are the best decks. But unfortunately, we're at a time in Hearthstone where it is we've had the best same decks here for a good amount of time, and it's going to be hard to shake that without seeing buffs again and nerfs. And we only saw buffs this time around, and a lot of them just were pretty pointless. So with that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed. As always, I'm Robert Warshack, and happy at whatever the hell day it is.
How do I know when my spicy off-meta deck is cooking or it's straight garbage? Hearthstone Deck Tracker gives me all the data I need to be able to find, track, create, and play with the worst possible decks I can to Legend each and every month. From matchup spreads to historical data, I can see where my off-meta decks stand in any meta. Features such as mulligan guides, remaining cards, and turn counters provide information which helps you make the best decision each turn. So if you want to be better than me, go on in the description below, hsreplay.net, give it a free download.
Isn't that right, bud? That's a good boy. You downloaded FS Replay, didn't you?